So most of the world woke up to what looked like a headline you might scroll past. A few gunshots early morning outside a diplomatic building, but make no mistake. What happened outside the United States consulate in Toronto is not being treated as just another crime. Because when shots are fired at a diplomatic mission, a place that literally represents one nation inside another, the entire world stops and tries to understand why. Early Tuesday morning, around 5:30 a.m., two men in a white SUV pulled into an intersection near the U.S. consulate. Several witnesses later told police they heard rapid-fire gunshots, Reuters.com. But here's the first surreal thing. Despite the shots being aimed at the building, nobody was hurt. No diplomats, no security personnel, no bystanders, not a single injury. That's because the U.S. consulate, like most diplomatic missions, is built to withstand serious threats. Massive reinforced doors, bullet-resistant windows, and layers of security beyond what a normal office would ever need. So the building stood tall, intact. No breach, no collapse, no chaos. But that doesn't mean it was just noise, because shortly after investigators arrived, the case was elevated. What had begun as a shooting was suddenly labeled a national security incident. And that label isn't thrown around lightly. It signals that authorities believe the event could impact public safety, international relations, or geopolitical stability. That's why the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Toronto Police Service, and even the Federal Bureau of Investigation are all working together on it. And that's also why spokespersons from Canada's capital up to Ottawa have used unusually strong language to condemn the incident. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney called it reprehensible. He said authorities will use every tool available to find and arrest those responsible. Reuters.com. Local leaders echoed the same concern. This isn't a prank, a dispute, or random violence. This was directed at the diplomatic presence of a close ally. And that is a big deal. Now let's put this into context. In the last few weeks, Canada has seen a spike in politically charged public demonstrations. Some have been peaceful, others less so. But they all center around global tensions, particularly those involving the ongoing conflict between Iran, Israel, and the involvement of the United States, TheGuardian.com. That doesn't automatically mean the shooting is connected to those protests. But security officials admit there is a broader atmosphere of heightened sensitivity, and that changes how investigators treat every lead. Police have described the suspects only as two men wearing dark clothing. They fled immediately after the gunfire. They were seen leaving in the same white SUV they arrived in, but beyond that, very little is known. No arrests have been made, no confirmed motive has been released, and that uncertainty is exactly why the term national security is being used. Because when law enforcement cannot yet explain the motive, and when the target is a diplomatic mission, authorities stop treating it as local crime and start treating it as potentially international in nature. Now, let's talk about the investigation itself. Even though no suspects have been named, several things are already clear from official briefings. Investigators are analyzing nearby CCTV footage. They are scouring traffic camera feeds. They are interviewing possible witnesses. And they are sharing intelligence between Canadian and American agencies. That level of cooperation tells you something. The United States government, through its State Department, wants answers, and it wants them quickly. Even though the U.S. consulate in Toronto was not breached, any attack on a diplomatic site is seen as an attack against the nation it represents, and that changes everything. Officials from both countries have emphasized that so far, there is no evidence the suspects were foreign intelligence operatives, no proof they were sent by a government. But authorities also have not ruled anything out, and just the possibility that this was politically motivated or tied to international events is enough to keep the world watching. Here's another layer to consider. In the hours following the incident, diplomatic missions in both Toronto and Ottawa, including U.S. and Israeli buildings, increased their security posture. Barricades were reinforced, additional guards were posted, and nearby streets were closed for extended periods while investigators collected evidence. That's not something you see after an ordinary gunshot incident. That's the kind of response reserved for events with potential international consequences. Experts in diplomatic security have said publicly that this incident will likely prompt reevaluations of consulate protective measures, intelligence briefings for other diplomatic missions, coordination between allied nations on threat analysis. And that's because when one consulate is targeted, every other diplomatic mission watches closely. They ask the same question, could we be next? But here's something that hasn't been widely reported. Police are also looking into whether the vehicle used in the shooting had been seen in the area days before the incident. That means investigators are not just studying the moment of the attack, they are studying the pattern leading up to it. And that suggests intelligence agencies believe the suspects may have been surveilling the consulate before acting. That's significant because it means this may not have been an impulsive act. It may have been planned. And that's the difference between a random crime and something national security officials take very seriously. Now, some analysts are urging caution. They insist it's too soon to jump to conclusions about motive or connections to larger global events, but authorities have not dismissed any possibility because with diplomatic sites involved, even the smallest clue could be crucial. And until the suspects are caught and a motive is established, this event will remain a live, ongoing investigation with implications far beyond the local streets of Toronto. Just imagine waking up in your city to a shooting and hours later, your entire government is calling it a national security matter. That's how serious this is being treated. And that's why this incident isn't just a news story. It's a story that could shape diplomatic relations, security protocols, and international cooperation for months to come. Canada has already reaffirmed its commitment to protecting all diplomatic missions within its borders. But at the same time, officials have made it clear that no threat, real or perceived, will be tolerated. Because when a diplomatic mission is targeted, every nation involved watches carefully, and every citizen wonders, who would do this? Why did they do it? And what will happen next? As this investigation continues, as authorities search for answers, and as the world watches closely, it's a reminder that events we may scroll past online can have far-reaching consequences, affecting not just governments, but the safety of ordinary people too. If you want to stay on top of these fast-moving stories, if you want verified updates as they happen, and insights into how these incidents could shape global security, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to know what's really happening in the world today. Because the moment you stay informed is the moment you see the bigger picture before everyone else does.